and Co. and Bonhams puts together posh of millions of dollars worth of the world's most beautiful and rarest vehicle for the cream de la creams of the world. Well, moving away from that, even though you would not know that the world is in a turmoil with that situation, President Ryan Ramaphosa of Sri Lanka is about to meet the IMF for more talks to help him with economic aid. Well, according to the reports, President Ranil Ramaphosa is set to meet with the IMF to get him more aid for his economy. Sri Lanka made this remark during a speech to open a new session of the parliament on Wednesday. Ramaphosa has been leading talks with the IMF to secure a 4-year bailout program that would provide up to $3 billion. He told Parliament the negotiations were progressing, but did not provide a timeline for when the deadline will be finalized. Why did he do that? Well, still talking about economic aid, Bangladesh also turns to ADB and the World Bank for funds. Bangladesh is seeking assistance from the World Bank and Asian Development Bank amid efforts to bolster its foreign exchange reserves. This is according to reports. The government wrote letters to the two lenders seeking $1 billion each from them the economy cope with the ripple effect of the war in Ukraine and the energy price shocks. This request comes days after the government sought a loan from the International Monetary Fund in a move seen as a preemptive measure to shore up the country's foreign exchange reserves amid concerns over contagion risk. South Asian neighbors Sri Lanka and Pakistan are already in talks with the IMF for loans to tide over crises in their respective economies. Well, talking about the inflation and how much it's affecting the world, UN Chief Antonio Guterres is slamming oil and gas firms for greed during the Ukraine war. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called for oil and gas companies to face special taxes. His comments comes as surging energy prices sparked by the war in Ukraine push industry profits to new highs. Guterres said it was immoral for firms to be profiting from the crisis. Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February has worsened a global shortage of oil and gas, disrupting access to oil and gas from Russia, which is a major supplier, and driving prices higher. While households are crippling with higher energy bills, companies are reaping the benefits. Unfortunately, it's affecting different economies with inflation.
It is immoral for oil and gas companies to be making record profits from this energy crisis on the back of the poorest people and communities and at a massive cost to the climate. The combined profits of the largest energy companies in the first quarter of this year are close to $100 billion. I urge all governments to tax these excessive profits and use the funds to support the most vulnerable people through these difficult times. And I urge people everywhere to send a clear message to the fossil fuel industry and their financiers that this grotesque greed is punishing the poorest and most vulnerable people while destroying our only common home. It is immoral for oil and gas companies to be making record profits from this energy crisis on the
While talking about the war in Russia and inflation, Turkish inflation has jumped to a 24-year high of 79.6% in July. Turkish inflation rose to a fresh 24-year high of 79.6% in July as the lira continued to weigh down on its weakness, and global energy and commodity costs pushed prices high below forecast. Inflation began to surge last autumn when the lira slumped after the central bank gradually cut its policy rate by 500 basis points to 14% in an easing circle sought by President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Month on month, consumer prices rose 2.37% in July, the Turkish Statistics Institute, but above forecast of 2.9%. Annually, consumer prices inflation was forecast to be 80.5%. Talking about inflation and how the Brent crude has affected the world, Brent right now steadies at $79 per barrel after Wednesday's bout. That's yesterday. Brent crude futures stabilized near $79 per barrel this morning after falling almost 4% in the previous session as traders weighed at a low supply increase from OPEC Plus against rising U.S. crude inventories and signs of declining U.S. gasoline demand. OPEC Plus responded to months of diplomatic efforts from U.S. President Joe Biden with one of the smallest oil production increases in its history. The cartel wants to add only 100,000 barrels a day of oil in September, giving a tight market extra supplies at a much slower pace than in recent months, despite pressure from the White House to help coal prices. The group warned of severely limited spare capacity. Meanwhile, official data from the EIA showed that U.S. crude stockpiles expanded by about 4.5 million barrels last month, despite expectations for a 629,000 barrel. The same report also indicated that Americans are now driving less than they did in the summer of 2020, despite pandemic restrictions during that period, with surging inflation continuing to weigh on demand. Talking about the Brent crude, let's look at the energy markets. We can see from the energy market right now that the WTI, the West Texas Incorporated, which the Americans actually use, is actually selling at $91.159 per barrel. We can actually see that it has gone up, it has appreciated by 0.69%, that's a 0.63 basis points appreciation. So far weekly, it's not been doing well. It's a minus 6.2% depreciation. It's on the negative side. Let's look at Brent crude, which actually is Nigeria's benchmark for crude. We see that Brent crude is selling at $97. It's actually appreciated by 0.47 basis points. You see this 0.49 percentage appreciation is actually better than how it was selling above $100 last week. Natural gas is also appreciating at $8.3626 per barrel. And from what we just saw, we realized that during the summer, a lot of people are needing more gas due to the heat and the summer and all of that. And it's appreciating at a 1% increase. I would say that's a good one. We hope that weekly it continues to do well because it's actually on the positive at 2.78% this week. Still looking at other energy commodities, we would see that ethanol has not changed at all. Ethanol, we would not say it's depreciating or it's appreciating, but in the market, we would say ethanol is appreciating because it's not on the negative. You'd see ethanol at 0% increase or decrease at 0% basis point, and we can actually see it's going at $2.4306 right now. We also see other products that are depreciating. We have coal depreciating in the market. We have TTF gas depreciating in the market with increased demand for gas due to the summer. We have methanol, we have uranium, propane, and other commodities depreciating in the market. You can see that the energy market right now is on the negative because we have very few commodities appreciating. But I would say it's good news for Nigeria because Brent crude is actually appreciating. Well, moving away from the energy market at this point, we'll go for a quick break. When we return, we would of course look at the Nigerian stock exchange market and the African stock exchange market. Just stay with us. Thanks for staying tuned. Welcome back. We'll be starting with 30 companies, the top 30 companies in West Africa. And Dangote Cement, MTN Nigeria, and Boer Cement account for 53% market capitalization on this company. Well, Dangote Cement has yet again maintained its position as the biggest company in West Africa by market capitalization. This is according to the latest monthly market report by Heartland Peel. Dangote Cement's market capitalization as of June 2022 was estimated at $11.29 billion, making it the highest priced brand in West Africa. MTN Nigeria ranked second on the top 30 companies list with a market capitalization of $11.28 billion. Boer Cement is third on the list, followed by Leslie Nigeria and Boer Foods. Overall, Nigeria, the regional heavyweight, has 21 stocks listed in the top 30 companies. Of the top 30 companies, bank accounts of 14 stocks, manufacturing accounts for 9, telecoms 4, and others 3. Well, here are the top 9 most valuable companies in West Africa by their market capitalization. We can see that Dangote Cement accounts for $11.29 billion. I already talked about MTN Nigeria at second place, accounting for $11.28 billion. Boer Cement at third place $5.8 billion, followed by Nestle Nigeria with $2.67 billion. Foods is at number 6, at number 5 with $2.38 billion. We also have Seplat Energy at 1.84, Zenith Bank at $1.64 billion, GT Bank at $1.45 billion. Nigerian Breweries is also doing well at $1.14 billion, and Stanbic IBTC at $1.04 billion. Well, we can see that those companies are doing well according to their market capitalization. Although, even here at the Nigerian stock market, a couple of them do have sell-offs here and there. Moving away from that, let's look at the NCR report, where it says that Nigeria is about to lose over 800 billion naira due to train routes suspension. Well, the Nigerian government's quarterly revenue generated from the train operation is likely to take a hit in the third quarter of 2022 as the Nigerian Railway Corporation, the NRC, suspends operation on the Lagos, Kano, and Ajaokuta routes. The NRC had often generated about 868 billion naira in the third quarter of the past 3 years, posting 868.3 million naira in the third quarter of 2019, 868.3 in the same quarter last year. The turnover went up to 1.19 billion naira between July and September last year, showing the third quarter as the best revenue generating period for the Nigerian Railway Corporation. However, the revenue growth recorded during the period will slow down this year as insecurity has forced the NRC to suspend train operation on Lagos, Kano, and Ajaokuta routes. According to the corporation, on Wednesday, which was yesterday, the increased insecurity has compelled the government to halt these routes, while the recent attack on passengers on Ajaokuta lane, which is within the Warri-Itakipe route, has also contributed to the suspension. The managing director of the NRC made the statement known to journalists. In the same time, talking about Nigerian economy losing money, Shell blames oil theft for Nigeria's economic woes and reduced oil production. Oil giant Shell Petroleum Development Company, the SPDC, has blamed Nigeria's economic woes, including the free fall of the naira and high cost of living, on unabated oil theft and assets vandalism. According to the country head corporation relations of SPDC, Igor Welly, during an interaction with the media in Port Harcourt, River State, he argued that with heavy reliance on oil proceeds, even when oil prices were currently above $100, Nigeria struggled because of low outputs induced by crude oil theft, adding that with low outputs comes low income in the foreign exchange. He warned that unless urgent action was taken to halt the ceaseless oil theft, the nation was headed for a period when the government would have to spend half of its budget cleaning up the mess resulting from crude oil theft and illegal refining of petroleum products. Well, you know that I would not conclude Business 360 without looking at the Nigerian stock market. Unfortunately, shareholders have lost over 16 billion naira to sell-offs. While the Nigerian capital market slipped back to the bear territory following the dip in equity capitalization by a negative 0.06% At the close of trading yesterday, after 8 hours of trading on the floor of the capital markets, the equity capitalization dropped by 16.7 billion naira from 27.30 trillion naira posted on Tuesday to 27.28 trillion naira yesterday. Similarly, the all-share index was down by 31.10 basis points to close at over 50,500 basis points. Investors traded 121.16 million shares valued at 1.16 billion naira in 4,369 deals. Lasaco led the gainers with 10% rise in share price to move from 90 kobo to 99 kobo per share. Len Africa topped the losers after shedding 26 kobo to drop from 2 naira 60 kobo to 2 naira 23 kobo per share. MTN Nigeria led the day's trading volume with 10.41 million shares valued at 2.23 billion naira. Talking about stock markets, let's take a quick look at the African stock market. Looking at how Nigeria is doing at the African stock market. We're actually seeing, the last time we looked at the markets, we saw that Nigeria is top in the African stock market, and we actually see that it still is the same. I already said the Nigerian share index is at 50,602 as at this morning. This is as at this morning. From yesterday, it has increased by 7 basis points. You can see the percentage increase is a little bit low at 0.01 percentage increase. This week, it's doing quite well. It's on the green at 1.88%. In comparison to other stock markets in Africa, you can see the South African SAL is actually doing well as well in the market at 69,187 basis points. You can actually see that Egypt is also doing well. Unfortunately, Nairobi all-share index didn't drop by any basis point, but would still say it's on the negative at minus 0.23%. We can actually say same for Tunisia. Tunisia's all-share index, Tunisia's share index has dropped by 23 basis points. Right now, it has just 7,731 share index. You can see other shares doing so well and a couple of them not doing so well. Altogether, the African market right now, I can say it's just on a 50-50 because you can see stocks doing well and others not doing well. But it's good news for the Nigerian stock market. Away from the African stock market, let's look at the US 30 markets. In the US 30 market, we can see Coca-Cola doing quite well in the market this morning. As of this morning, Coca-Cola is selling at $63.92. Also, an increase of 0.28 basis points. Apple is also not doing well. Apple is not doing well. Apple is actually selling at $165. And you can see that it has depreciated by 0.32. Microsoft as well has depreciated at 1.28 basis points. Talking about other commodities that have depreciated, other components that have depreciated, you see big names like Walmart depreciating, Apple depreciating, Microsoft depreciating, Chevron also depreciating. However, we can also see a couple of other big names doing quite well. We have JP Morgan appreciating at 0.19, selling right now at $113.80. We also see P&G doing quite well in the market. United Health is doing well. Johnson & Johnson is doing quite well in the market, appreciating at 1.7. Well, at this point, we will call it a day on Business 360 right here. Join us again tomorrow for more information in the business world. I remain Edidion Martin. Thanks for watching.